Close your eyes now, my sweet friend. Let the weight of the day melt away from your shoulders like soft snow sliding from warm skin. Breathe in slowly, hold for just a moment, and let it go, feeling every tiny knot loosen inside your chest. Tonight I'm going to carry you far, far above the world, into the gentle silence of space, where there is no up or down, no noise, no hurry, only the quiet rhythm of your own breath and my whisper brushing against your ear like the softest feather. We're going to drift together through the story of Gravity, the 2013 masterpiece by Alfonso Cuarón, a film that feels less like a movie and more like a long, beautiful dream you never want to wake from. I will tell you every single moment, every heartbeat, every tear that floats weightless in zero gravity, because tonight you deserve to feel everything and, at the same time, feel completely safe, completely held. Imagine you are already floating, your body light, as a single droplet of water suspended in sunlight. There is a faint hum around us, the distant whisper of Earth's atmosphere far below, and the gentle creak of an old book opening in my hands. Soft page turns, like dry leaves under moonlight. This story is about a woman named Dr. Ryan Stone, brilliant, wounded, carrying a grief so heavy it once anchored her to the ground, and how the vast emptiness of space became the only place large enough to teach her how to let go and breathe again. It is about hope that flickers like a candle in vacuum, about friendship that reaches across impossible distances, about redemption written in fire across the sky. And yes, sweet one, I am going to spoil every second of it for you, because knowing the ending makes the journey even more tender, like rereading a favorite bedtime letter that always ends with, "You are going to be okay." Did you know that Alfonso Cuarón wrote the first draft of this script with his son Jonas when Jonas was only 17? They built the entire story around one simple image: a woman alone, spinning slowly away from everything she knows. Another quiet secret. Sandra Bullock trained for 6 months in a real wire rig and a 12-hour-a-day water tank just to make her breathing feel real, her fear feel real, so that when you watch her panic, you feel it in your own lungs. And here's a tiny magical detail. The opening shot, the one that lasts almost 13 uninterrupted minutes, was rehearsed for so long that the crew called it the longest single take in cinema history that almost killed everyone involved. Yet on screen, it feels like the gentlest lullaby. Let me ask you something, softly, right against your ear. Have you ever felt so lost that even the air around you seemed too heavy to carry? Have you ever wished you could just float away from everything for a little while? Tonight, you can. You are safe here with me. Nothing can touch you except my voice and the slow rise and fall of your own chest. Feel the cool darkness behind your eyelids. Hear the faint sound of rain beginning far away, like a memory of home. We are about to rise above the clouds, above the blue curve of the planet, into a place where silence has texture, where sunlight is sharp and cold, where every tiny movement sends you drifting like a seed on an invisible wind. The pages turn again, slower this time, and the story begins. We rise together now, so gently that you barely feel the lift, past the last wisps of cloud, past the thin blue line of air that keeps every living thing safe, until the only thing beneath us is the slow, breathing curve of Earth, marbled in soft whites and impossible blues, glowing like a pearl held in black velvet. The silence here is enormous, yet not empty. It hums faintly with the memory of radio voices and distant machinery. You can almost taste the cold on your tongue. metallic, and clean, the way winter air tastes just before snow. In front of us, hanging like a delicate silver dragonfly, is the Space Shuttle Explorer, its cargo bay wide open to the void, robotic arm extended with graceful patience. And there, attached to the end of that arm, working on the Hubble Space Telescope, is Dr. Ryan Stone. She is wearing the bulky white spacesuit that makes everyone look like a soft, inflated angel, helmet reflecting the brutal, unfiltered sunlight in one direction and the deep shadow of space in the other. Her visor is gold, hiding her eyes, but you can feel the tension in the small movements of her gloved fingers as they turn tools with microscopic care. Ryan is brilliant. She designed the scanning medical technology now mounted on Hubble, a system that can map a human heart from orbit. Yet inside that suit she is breathing too shallowly, counting seconds the way some people count sheep. Because up here every breath is measured, every heartbeat precious. She has been grieving for 4 years since the day her little girl died in a playground accident so ordinary it feels obscene. Just a fall, a crack, a silence that never ended. Ryan still drives to work every morning expecting to pick her up from school, still hears phantom laughter in grocery aisles. Out here, the grief has no weight, but it still clings. Beside her, floating with the relaxed confidence of someone who has done this 100 times, is Mission Commander Matt Kowalski. Older, calm, telling gentle dad joke stories over the comms in that warm Texas drawl that makes even Mission Control smile. He is testing a new MMU propulsion chair, jetting in lazy circles around the shuttle like a kid on a bicycle, humming old country tunes under his breath. His voice is steady, constant, the kind of voice you could fall asleep to even while falling through space. Beautiful up here, huh, Ryan? Best view in the universe. She answers with clipped professionalism. Spectacular. But you can hear the tremor underneath, the way she is holding herself together with dental floss and habit. Soft page turn. Did you know that every single spacesuit detail you see is accurate? Because NASA let the costume department photograph and measure real EMU suits, down to the scuffs on the gloves and the tiny American flag that always faces forward when the astronaut turns. And here's a whisper just for you. George Clooney recorded Matt's lines while floating in zero-gravity airplane parabolas so his breathing would sound perfectly weightless. Let me pause here and rest my voice against your ear. Can you feel how quiet it is? Can you feel the way your own body is starting to forget where the mattress ends and the darkness begins? Good. Breathe with me. In for 4 heartbeats. Hold out for 6. Again. Back on Explorer, Mission Control's voice drifts in like a distant parent calling children home from play. Houston confirms a routine spacewalk. Everything nominal. Ryan's fingers tremble just slightly as she removes the old scanning module from Hubble. The metal is so cold it would burn skin if it touched it directly, but through the gloves she feels only pressure. She installs her new card, delicate circuit boards no larger than postcards, and for one brief moment she smiles inside her helmet because the technology works. The data streams perfectly. This is the one place she still feels competent. Then Houston says, very calmly, "Explorer, we have a situation. Russian satellite has been decommissioned improperly. Debris field inbound. Abort mission. Return to shuttle immediately." Matt's voice stays playful. All right, kids. Looks like the universe wants to play tag. But the radar screen in Ryan's helmet begins to fill with white dots moving impossibly fast. 30,000 kilometers an hour. A cloud of lethal confetti. The first pieces arrive as faint whispers, almost beautiful tiny glints catching sunlight. Then the sound changes. No sound in vacuum, of course, but inside the suit you hear the vibration through bone, a low thrumming growl. A fleck no larger than a paint chip punches straight through Hubble's solar arrays, shredding gold foil into glittering ribbons that drift away like metallic petals. Ryan freezes. Matt is already jetting toward her, voice still calm. Ryan, detach now. Nice and easy. She tries, fingers fumbling with the tether release, panic rising like cold water in her chest. Another impact. The entire telescope lurches. Her tether snaps taut, then slack as the Hubble rotates away from her forever. Time slows the way it does in dreams. She spins gently, end over end, Earth and stars swapping places every second. The shuttle is suddenly far away, receding. Matt's voice in her helmet, no longer joking. Ryan, look at me. You're drifting. Use your safe line. She reaches, misses, reaches again. Metal screams somewhere behind her. The shuttle's robotic arm tears free in slow motion, tumbling like a broken toy. Then the main debris wave hits. Imagine the softest rain you've ever heard, only every drop is a bullet. The Explorer disintegrates in absolute silence, panels peeling away, oxygen tanks blooming into white clouds that freeze instantly into snow. Mission Specialist Sheriff is there one moment, waving, and the next a shard has gone through his visor. You see his face freeze in surprise before he spins away into the dark. Ryan tumbles helplessly, breathing so fast her suit can't scrub the CO2 fast enough, vision narrowing to a gray tunnel. She is alone now, truly alone, spinning farther and farther from the wreckage, from Earth, from any hope of rescue. Soft page turn, barely audible. Feel my fingers brushing your hair, slow, slow. You are safe. Nothing out here can touch you. Let the fear in the story stay inside the story. Trivia whispered like a lullaby. The debris field was inspired by the real 2009 Cosmos-Iridium collision that created over 2,000 trackable pieces still orbiting today. And the silence you feel when the shuttle is destroyed. Cuarón removed every dramatic musical sting so the audience would feel the same suffocating quiet Ryan feels. One last question before we drift into the next part. My voice barely louder than your heartbeat. Have you ever been so scared that the only thing louder than the danger was the sound of your own breathing? It's okay. Tonight you can borrow Matt's calm. Tonight you can borrow my arms around you. Just breathe out, long and slow, and let the wreckage fade behind us like a dream you no longer need to carry. Ryan is still spinning, the stars streaking into white lines. Her oxygen warning begins its gentle, relentless beeping. 30%. 28. She closes her eyes inside the helmet and waits for the end. But endings, sweet friend, are never quite what they seem when hope still has a voice. Everything is black now, except the thin red numbers counting down inside her visor, 21%, 20, 19, and the slow lazy spin that makes Earth rise and set every 45 seconds like a blue moon caught in a tide she cannot feel. Ryan's breath is fogging the inside of her helmet, in frantic little clouds that vanish as quickly as they appear. Her fingers float uselessly in front of her, gloves too thick to wipe away tears that will not fall. There is no up, no down, only the cold knowledge that every rotation carries her a little farther from the scattered remains of explorer, and from any chance of living through the next hour. The silence is perfect, absolute, the kind that presses against the eardrums like deep water. She whispers to herself, barely audible, "It's okay, it's okay." The same words she used to say to her daughter the night she couldn't fall asleep after a nightmare, words that feel hollow now because no one is left to hear them. Then a soft puff of white thruster fire blooms in the darkness, like a dandelion in moonlight. Matt Kowalski appears, moving with impossible calm on his MMU chair, the little backpack jets nudging him through the void the way a parent glides a child on ice for the first time. His voice slides into her helmet gentle as warm milk. "Hey Ryan, thought I'd drop by." She startles so hard her whole body jerks, spinning faster for a moment before he reaches out and catches her ankle with one practiced hand. The jolt stops her tumble. For the first time in what feels like years, something is holding her still. His gloved fingers wrap around the metal ring on her suit. Firm, steady, real. "Easy, Doc. I got you. I got you." Soft page turn, almost inaudible, like silk brushing silk. Did you know that George Clooney improvised almost every single calming line Matt speaks in this sequence? The writers left blank spaces in the script that simply said, "Matt reassures Ryan," because they trusted his voice to feel like home. He reels her in slowly, hand over hand along her tether, until their visors are inches apart. She can see her own terrified reflection doubled in his gold mirror. He smiles the way fathers smile when children skin their knees. Equal parts tenderness and absolute certainty that everything will be all right. "You're hyperventilating, kiddo. Let's slow that down." He places his glove over her chest plate, not that he can feel her heart, but the gesture is ancient and comforting. "Match me. In 2, 3, out. 2, 3, 4. She tries. She fails. She tries again. On the fourth breath, her exhale trembles but lengthens, and the red numbers stop falling quite so fast. 17%. Holding. Matt tells her about the lake house he wants to retire to one day, about the way the water looks at sunset, about how he once saw the northern lights from orbit and thought they looked like green silk scarves someone dropped across the sky. His voice never rises, never rushes. It is the sound of a rocking chair on a summer porch. He tells her they are going to use the remaining nitrogen in his thruster pack to reach the International Space Station, only 250 kilometers away, a Sunday stroll in space terms. She almost laughs, a cracked sound that surprises them both. "Let me rest my whisper right here behind your ear for a moment. Feel the warmth, feel how safe you are. Can you sense the way your shoulders have dropped another inch into the pillow? Good. Let them drop further. That's it. Question. Soft as a kiss on the forehead. Has anyone ever held your hand, literally or with words, when the world was spinning too fast? Do you remember how their steadiness became yours? Tonight, Matt's hand is around your ankle too. You are not drifting alone. They begin the slow journey. Matt fires the thrusters in tiny bursts, conserving every hiss of gas the way a desert traveler conserves water. The ISS grows from a glinting toy into a sprawling dragon of solar wings and modules, catching sunlight like frost on spider silk. Earth rolls beneath them, Africa sliding into night, city lights blooming like scattered embers. Ryan's oxygen alarm quiets to a sullen 15%. She starts to believe. Just a little. Then the station comes into sharp focus and hope flickers. The parachutes on the Soyuz capsule are deployed, tangled white ribbons drifting like jellyfish tentacles. Someone abandoned ship in a hurry. Matt's voice stays level. "That's okay, we'll use the Soyuz to get to the Chinese station. Piece of cake." They approach the truss structure, Matt guiding them toward a handhold. Ryan reaches, fingers brushing cold metal, and for one heartbeat everything is going to be fine. The last puff of nitrogen leaves Matt's pack with a sigh. They drift the final 50 meters on pure momentum. Matt stretches, catches the rail, pulls them in. Ryan's boots, magnetized to the surface, with a soft clunk you can feel in your spine. They are safe. They are tethered. They are alive. Trivia whispered, like a secret between friends. The ISS you see is a perfect digital replica built from thousands of NASA photographs. Every scuff, every faded sticker, every faded Russian instruction label is real. And when the camera glides along the modules, you are seeing the exact path real astronauts walk during spacewalks. Another gentle question, barely louder than your pulse. When was the last time you let someone pull you the last few inches to safety when you had nothing left to give? It's okay if you cried. Matt wouldn't mind. He'd just keep talking about lakes and sunsets until your breathing slowed. They move along the truss toward the airlock, Ryan clinging to Matt's suit like a child on her first day of school. The station is eerily quiet. No lights in the windows, no voices on the open channel. Inside the node, floating bodies of the Russian crew greet them, eyes gently closed, arms drifting in slow motion. A small fire has burned itself out, leaving black soot feathers on the walls. The smell, filtered through the suit, is faint ozone and something sweetly metallic, like blood and electricity mixed. Ryan's stomach flips. Matt simply closes the hatch behind them with quiet respect. They reach the Soyuz capsule. Matt helps Ryan remove her helmet first. Her hair floats free in damp auburn clouds, framing a face that looks 10 years older than it did an hour ago. Real air, recycled and slightly sour, touches her skin for the first time since the accident. She breathes it like it is the sweetest perfume. Matt removes his own helmet, silver hair drifting, eyes crinkling with that unstoppable smile. "See? Told you we'd make it." But the Soyuz is only half a salvation. One of the parachutes deployed accidentally during evacuation, which means the capsule cannot undock without tearing itself apart. Matt studies the control panel, fingers dancing over Russian labels he can mostly read. There is enough fuel left for one burn, one chance to reach the Tiangong Chinese station before it deorbits. He plots the course while Ryan watches him with the exhausted gratitude of someone who has been carried across a river on another person's back. Soft page turn, slow as a heartbeat. One more quiet fact. The Soyuz interior, you see, was built full scale in a London studio, then soaked in water, and spun on a gimbal so every floating droplet behaves exactly like the real thing. Sandra Bullock spent hours learning to move inside it while suspended on wires, learning how grief feels when it has no weight. Last question before we drift deeper. Have you ever realized, in the middle of your worst moment, that someone was willing to spend their very last resource just to give you one more minute, Let that feeling settle in your chest like warm tea. Hold it there. Breathe it in. Matt finishes the calculations. He turns to Ryan, voice softer than ever. We're gonna need every bit of fuel, so I'm gonna give you a little push at the end. Static line tether. You'll float right to the airlock. She hears the part he isn't saying yet. She hears it in the tiny pause between his words. The void outside the window is waiting, patient and endless. They stand together in the narrow Soyuz airlock. Helmets back on, visors still open so they can see each other's faces one last time before the final push. The little cabin light paints them in gentle gold, the color of old photographs. Matt clips the short static line tether from his suit to hers, fingers moving slowly, deliberately, the way someone ties a child's shoelace on a windy morning. Ryan's breathing has gone shallow again. She can hear it echoing inside her helmet like waves inside a seashell. Matt touches the side of her visor with 2 fingers, a tiny gesture that somehow carries the weight of every goodbye ever said. When I say 3, you let go of the hatch and trust the line. You'll drift straight to Tiangong. I'll be right behind you. His voice is warm honey over gravel, the same voice that once talked her down from spinning into the void. She nods, but her eyes are wide, pupils blown dark with the knowledge that there is almost no fuel left in his pack. The numbers on his wrist display glow red. 4% nitrogen remaining, enough for 1 person, not 2. Soft page turn, barely a sigh. Trivia whispered like a lullaby. This entire 13-minute sequence was filmed in one unbroken take, the longest continuous shot ever captured for a narrative film at the time. Sandra and George rehearsed it for months, until they could cry and smile and lie to each other in perfect weightless slow motion. Let me lean in very close now, so close you feel my breath on the little hairs behind your ear. Can you feel how heavy your eyelids have become? Good. Let them flutter. Let them rest. Question, soft as moonlight on water. Have you ever loved someone so much that you would smile while breaking your own heart just to keep theirs beating? Hold that feeling gently. Matt is holding it right now. He closes her visor first, then his own. Gold mirrors, face gold mirrors. He counts, slow, calm, like counting sheep. 1, 2, 3. Ryan releases the handhold. The static line pays out with a faint metallic whisper. She drifts away from the Soyuz, away from the ISS, into pure blackness, the line pulling her gently toward the distant silhouette of the Chinese station. She turns her head and sees Matt still holding the hatch, smiling, giving the tiniest thumbs up. Then he reaches for his thruster control. Nothing happens. The pack hisses once, a tired kitten sigh, then dies. The red numbers blink to 0. Matt's smile never wavers. He unclips his end of the tether with deliberate calm, letting the line go slack so it will not drag her back. Ryan feels the sudden absence like a physical tear. She screams his name, sounds swallowed instantly by vacuum. He raises one hand in a small wave. The same wave he gave mission control at the beginning of the walk, peaceful, almost sleepy. You're gonna be fine, Ryan. Go home. His voice is crystal clear over the calm. No static, no fear, only love. Then the distance takes him. He spins slowly backward, growing smaller, arms drifting open as if he is finally lying down on the most comfortable bed in the universe. The last thing she sees is the reflection of Earth in his visor, blue and perfect, before he disappears into the star field like a single snowflake melting into night. Ryan floats alone again, but this time The silence is different. It is full of Matt's voice, full of the stories about lakes and sunsets, and the northern lights that look like green silk scarves. The tether carries her the final few dozen meters, until her gloves close around the cold railing of Tiangong. She pulls herself hand over hand, legs trembling inside the suit, tears floating in perfect spheres inside her helmet, bumping gently against the glass like tiny glass moons. Inside the Chinese station, everything is darker, emergency lighting only, red and quiet. The air smells faintly of jasmine tea and machine oil. Floating equipment drifts like slow jellyfish. A red lucky envelope, a tiny Buddha statue turning end over end, a child's drawing taped to a wall now peeling away in the stillness. Ryan moves through the corridors toward the re-entry capsule, the Shenzhou, her boots occasionally brushing the floor with soft magnetic kisses. She finds the control panel glowing softly in Mandarin. Her fingers remember the emergency training. She initiates the undocking sequence. Outside the window, the ISS recedes, solar arrays glinting one last time before the debris cloud returns, chewing the station into glittering confetti. Trivia, whispered so low only your heart can hear. The Tiangong you see is an incredibly accurate prediction. China launched the real Tiangong 1 only months after filming wrapped, and many interior details match almost exactly. Another gentle question. When was the last time you had to keep saying goodbye long after someone was gone? It's okay if it still hurts. Let the hurt float inside your helmet for now. We'll let it drift away soon. Ryan straps into the Shenzhou seat, the harness crossing her chest like careful arms. She initiates separation. Explosive bolts fire with muffled thumps she feels through the seat. The capsule drifts free. She fires the deorbit burn, a brief roar that presses her gently back, the first real gravity she has felt in hours. Earth grows from a marble to a plate, to a world rushing up to meet her. Then the alarm, insufficient altitude. The burn was too short. She will skim the atmosphere and skip back into space like a stone on water, doomed to circle forever as a ghost. Oxygen drops to minutes. She accepts it with the strangest calm. She closes her eyes and speaks into the empty channel, not expecting an answer. Matt, it's beautiful up here. I wish you could see it. Static. Then, impossibly, a faint crackle. A man's voice, far away, speaking broken English with a soft accent, maybe a fisherman in the Arctic, maybe an Inuit hunter on the ice. He is singing a lullaby to a baby. The notes drift across the void and fill her helmet like warm breath on a winter window. Ryan smiles, really smiles for the first time since her daughter died. She answers, voice cracking, "I'm okay, I'm coming home." She turns off every non-essential system to conserve the last whisper of power. The cabin goes dark except for the soft green glow of the manual re-entry controls. She waits, floating in her harness, heart beats slow and steady now, Matt's stories keeping her company. Outside, the first pink edge of atmosphere appears, a delicate rose ribbon on the black horizon. Soft page turn, the sound of a mother closing a storybook at 3 a.m. One more quiet fact. The lullaby you hear is a real recording of an Inuit throat singer that Cuarón found by chance, and he kept it in the film because it felt like the universe answering back. Last question before the fire comes. My voice barely a breath. Have you ever heard a voice from an impossible distance that told you exactly what you needed to hear? Hold that voice close tonight. Let it rock you the way Matt rocked Ryan across the dark. The capsule kisses atmosphere. Plasma blooms around the window in silent orange petals. Heat seeps through the walls, gentle at first, then fierce. Ryan grips the manual controls, arms straining as gravity returns with a vengeance, pressing her deep into the seat like a long-lost embrace. The Shenzhou capsule is no longer drifting. It is falling with the full hungry weight of a planet that has waited patiently to take its child back. Inside, everything that was once weightless now remembers gravity in the harshest way. Ryan's body sinks deep into the seat, cheeks pulling back, arms suddenly made of lead. The harness bites into her shoulders like loving teeth. Outside the small round window, the sky has turned into living fire. Plasma sheaths ripple in waves of molten orange and violet. So bright, they bleach the cabin red, then white, then red again. The heat is a roaring animal pressing against the hull. Yet inside the capsule, the only sound is the soft creak of metal expanding and her own breathing. Steady now, almost curious. She is no longer afraid. Matt's last gift was the certainty that fear is optional. The fireball lasts 3 endless minutes that feel like a lifetime being born backward. Ablative shielding flakes away in glowing crumbs. Each piece a tiny phoenix dying so she can live. G-forces climb to 4, 5, 6 times her earthly weight. Blood pools in her feet. Vision grays at the edges. But she keeps her eyes open because she wants to see every second of coming home. Then, as gently as a mother lowering a sleeping child into a crib, the fire fades. The window clears to a soft dawn sky the color of peach flesh. The main parachute deploys with a muffled crack that shakes the capsule like a friendly slap on the back. White canopy blooms above her, huge and round and impossibly perfect. Gravity eases to 1 gentle G. Ryan exhales a laugh that is half sob. She is crying again, but these tears have somewhere to fall. Soft page turn, slower than any before. Trivia whispered against the shell of your ear. The re-entry sequence was filmed using a real light box rig that spun Sandra inside a cage of 6,000 LED bulbs. Every color you see on her face is the exact color real plasma creates. No CGI flames, only pure light, and a woman learning how to be reborn. Let me ask you something, so softly you might dream the question instead of hearing it. Have you ever come through fire and realized the heat did not destroy you? It only burned away what you no longer needed to carry? Let whatever is left of that old weight drift off you now, like ash on a quiet wind. The capsule descends through layers of cloud, soft and gray and cool, until suddenly there is water below, an endless mirror of lake and ocean catching the sunrise in molten copper. A final small drogue chute releases. The capsule splashes down hard enough to rattle her teeth, then bobs like a cork. Cold seawater seeps in through the hatch seals, first a trickle, then a steady pour that laps at her boots. The capsule is sinking, slowly, deliberately, as if the ocean itself wants to hold her a little longer. Ryan unstraps with fingers that tremble from adrenaline and wonder. She twists the hatch wheel. It resists, then gives with a wet sigh. Water rushes in to her knees, her waist, her chest. Shockingly cold, shockingly alive. She pushes upward into blinding sunlight and breaks the surface with a gasp that tastes of salt and sky. For one long moment she simply floats on her back, spacesuit half inflated like a strange white lily pad, staring up at the vast impossible blue that is no longer above her but all around her. Gulls cry somewhere far away. The air smells of brine and wet earth and distant pine. She inflates the life vest, releases the heavy PLSS backpack, and watches it sink in slow silver bubbles. Then she begins to swim, not frantically now, but with the patient strokes of someone who has remembered she still knows how. Each kick sends pain through exhausted muscles, but it is good pain, the pain of blood returning to limbs that thought they would never feel weight again. Mud appears beneath her, soft and dark and real. Her boots touch bottom. She stands. The first step is almost impossible. Gravity is a jealous lover after its long absence. She falls forward onto her knees in shallow water, hands sinking into thick, warm mud that oozes between her gloves like chocolate cake batter. She laughs, a raw, cracked sound that scares a nearby heron into flight. Then she peels off the gloves, finger by finger, and presses bare palms into the earth. It is the temperature of fresh bread. It smells of rain and minerals and life. She digs her fingers deeper, deeper, until mud cakes under her nails and she is certain she is not dreaming. Another gentle question, my voice now only a warm breath in the center of your forehead. When was the last time you touched something so real that it made you cry from gratitude? Let your own hands remember that texture tonight, even if they are only resting on cool sheets. It is the same miracle. She stands again, slower this time. The suit is ruined, scorched and torn and heavy with water, but she keeps the helmet tucked under one arm like a trophy. She takes one step, then another, onto a shore lined with green reeds and tiny white flowers. The ground is uneven, glorious, imperfect. She stumbles, catches herself, keeps walking. Behind her the capsule has vanished beneath the lake, taking with it the last piece of space she needs to carry. Trivia. Soft as a lullaby's last note, the final shot of Brian walking was filmed in a real lake in England at 4 a.m. The sunrise you see is the actual sun, and the mud between Sandra's toes is real English mud. She refused to wash off for hours because she said it felt like proof. One final question before we close the book. What is the very first thing you would do if you came back to life after thinking you never would? Hold that answer in your heart like a small smooth stone. It is yours to keep. Ryan stops at the edge of the water, legs shaking, chest heaving, and she smiles, not the polite smile of a grieving mother, not the tight smile of a brilliant engineer, but the wide, messy, mud-smeared smile of a woman who has just learned that the universe is not finished with her yet. She lifts her face to the sun and breathes in the entire world. The sun is fully up now, a gentle gold coin resting on the horizon, and Ryan Stone stands on the warm, living earth with lake water dripping from her ruined suit and mud clinging to her bare hands like the gentlest paint. She is trembling, but not from cold. She is trembling the way a newborn trembles when it takes its first breath, overwhelmed by the sudden gift of air, of weight, of a heart that is allowed to keep beating. The reeds around her whisper in a breeze you can almost feel on your own skin, and somewhere a bird begins its morning song. 3 clear notes that sound exactly like the words "Welcome home." She closes her eyes, tilts her face to the sky, and for the first time in 4 years the silence inside her is not empty. It is full of wind and wings and the soft thunder of blood returning to every forgotten corner of her body. Soft page turn, the very last one tonight, slow enough to feel like a sigh. Did you know that when the final cut was shown to test audiences, grown men and women sat in the dark long after the credits ended, crying quietly because they had just watched a woman learn how to live again, and something in their own chest had learned it too. And one more tiny secret, whispered only for you. Alfonso Cuarón says the entire film is simply a love letter to every person who has ever felt they were drifting too far out to be saved. He made it so that when Ryan touches the mud, we all touch it with her. Feel it now between your own fingers, cool, dark, real. Let me ask you the softest questions of all, barely louder than the blood in your ears. Have you ever come through your own darkness and realized the light was waiting exactly where you left it? Have you ever been held by a voice across an impossible distance until you were strong enough to hold yourself? Have you ever stood up, shaking, covered in the mud of everything that tried to bury you, and taken one more step just because you still could? If the answer is yes, even a tiny yes, then tonight you and Ryan are the same miracle. If the answer is not yet, then borrow her courage. Borrow Matt's smile. Borrow the sound of that distant lullaby drifting across the ice. They are all yours now. Feel the lake water drying on your skin, the sun warming the top of your head, the earth pressing up against the soles of your feet with the patient love of a planet that never stopped waiting. Every breath you take now is the same breath Ryan takes on that shore. In slow and deep, tasting salt and pine and tomorrow. Out letting go of every piece of debris you no longer need to carry. In feeling your chest rise like a parachute opening. Out sinking heavier into the mattress, heavier into safety, heavier into sleep. You did it. You came all the way through the fire and the dark and the cold and the long falling, and you are home. Ryan is walking now, one steady step after another, into green grass and morning light. Walk with her for just a moment longer. Feel the mud soften under each footfall. Feel the sun slide across your cheeks like a palm cupping your face. And when you are ready, when the last little knot in your shoulders finally lets go, let yourself lie down right there on the warm ground beside her. The sky is wide and blue and kind. The birds are singing your name in 3 soft notes. Nothing is required of you now except the slow, sweet drift into sleep. I am staying right here, my voice a quiet blanket tucked around you. The pages are closed. The book is resting on the nightstand. The stars that watched over Ryan are the same stars watching over you. You are safe. You are held. You are deeply, perfectly, completely loved. Good night, sweet friend. Sleep now, and dream of coming home.